Hey, welcome back to Common Knowledge, the show where I take a look at 10 common magic cards and tell you if they're any good in the Pauper format or not. We're going to end the week on a bit of a chill note, keeping the ring light off, letting that soft light go on the face. That's nice. Scourge of the Nobilis is our first card of the day. It's 2 and a hybrid Boros mana, so a red or a white for an enchantment aura that enchants a creature. As long as the enchanted creature is red, it gets +1/+1 and has. You can pay a Boros mana, and this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So fire breathing. Or as long as this enchanted creature is white, it gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. This is an interesting card. Not necessarily a good card. Maybe it's a good card. It's tough. This one's tough. I kind of want to hear what you guys might think about it. But here's why I think this is interesting. Being that all the costs on this card are just hybrid mana, hybrid mana to cast the thing, but also the fire breathing part is hybrid. It does say as long as the creature's red though, so I guess that does complicate things. I was gonna say like, wow, like you could do fire breathing on a mono white heroic deck. Wouldn't that be cool? And like have only paying white mana to get a fire breathing effect. And that's not true. That's not true. The card still does need to be red in some way. Now you can still make that work by playing some kind of Boros creature. And we've gotten, not even, you could just even do the hybrid ones. There's not really, man, maybe there is a way to do that. Is that like there's not like an Oracle tag hybrid, is there? If I said, I kind of want to see if I can do this. So what if we said it's red and white, and it's oh my goodness, I'm just losing it. Legal and Pauper. That's what we're looking for here, and it's a creature. So we can do this search, and then. So we can already see something like Boros Recruit. We're seeing some here, and there's only 25 cards. I could just look through all 25, but I kind of want to see if this is possible. What if I put O-Tag Hybrid? That's not the way that works. No. I'm sure I could find it. I mean, do you have to write out Oracle Tag? I am not the best at Scryfall, and I should probably get better. Okay, no to that one either. So we'll just go through the 25. But we do have this Mimic here. I think we've looked at this one before. Boros Recruit, 1 mana first striker. That might not be bad with this. The Shapeshifter from Lorwyn Eclipse also has first strike just during your turn. We got a Turtles card. Like, none of these cards are good enough to like be in a mono white heroic deck. You could probably argue that Boros Recruit could work relatively well with this. A lot of as long as it's your turn, these guys have first strike. That is kind of just a where R&D is going right now, by trying to phase out first strike on lower rarity cards, in most cards anyway, and only putting it on your turn so you attack with them, so you have more incentive to attack with them. A flying first striker, that's not bad. So there are some options whenever you cast. That's instant sorceries. We need something that works on non-creatures. That's not terrible either. So none of these are awesome. Oh, well, okay. Hey, the Veteran Guard Mouse, that has Valiant. There you go. So when it becomes the target of a spell or ability you control for the first time, it gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn, and you Scryfall. Or anti-Scry, not Scryfall. That is just the first time each turn, but that's not bad. It's a little expensive, but so the idea here is, could you play just a complete mono white deck still, and the creature still counts as being red, so then you get the ability, but the ability of this enchantment also is hybrid, so you could still just keep paying mono white into it. And I guess that's possible, but it's not necessarily very practical. So you're probably not going to put that in your mono white heroic deck. It's probably a couple too many hoops to jump through. The second ability on here is also just solid. +1/+1 and lifelink is good, but I don't want to pay 3 mana for that. in a mono white heroic deck. So you really do need to play this in a Boros deck or any deck that is able to at least bring in a creature that is multiple colors. In this case, red and white. And I don't think that's quite good enough to go into some of these decks. I do like these eventide, this cycle of eventide auras. We have some really good ones. Some will give a creature kind of like a lure effect or indestructible or flying, and they give this cool suite of abilities if you're able to play multicolored creatures, and that can be really cool when you're doing interesting stuff like Slippery Bogle. I can't remember the name of the aura that does it, but there's like a green blue aura that gives a bunch of abilities, and you could put that in your Bogle's deck. You could. It doesn't really go in there, but you could do it. I think these are neat for the Pauper format, though. I think I can't give this too much of a good score. I think Mono White Heroic just has better stuff available to it most of the time, and so I'll end up giving this a 2.8. That might be a little high, but 2.8. I like these abilities. Singe is a single red mana for an instant. Singe deals 1 damage to target creature. That creature becomes black until end of turn. I like the flavor of that. That's really fun, right? Because if you singe something, if you burn it a little bit, yeah, it does turn black. And this was, I'm not going to say it was useful back in the day, but you could use it if somebody is playing, casting a Doomblade or a Terror on your creature. You can deal 1 damage to it as long as it's not a 1 toughness creature. And now it's a black creature, so now you now it can't be targeted by your by your Terror. Whoopsie, sorry about that. That's not really all that good, though. 1 damage for one mana, especially when the damage can only go to a creature, is really bad. I mean, Lava Dart is just right there, and it's way better. Way better. Singe is not a very good card, but it is a fun card. Not only from a flavor thing, but I think there is just cool stuff you could do. I wouldn't mind seeing some kind of color matters cube. I think that could be really fun if maybe it wouldn't be fun because you just end up having people roll over. You'd get really bad matchups that way, and it's just kind of luck of the draw of who you get and who has the sideboard that has the most color hate to it. But there's still something kind of fun about playing a card and turning a creature into a black creature and being able to do something with that. Like, hey, that creature has fear, so I'm not going to be able to block it, but I can use my Singe and I can turn my creature into a black creature for the end of the turn, and then I'm able to block that creature. Isn't that fun? I think that's fun. But the card's pretty bad. I got to give it something like a 1.6. Yeah, even for a removal spell, it's a really bad one, so I'm going to give it that score. Snorting Gar is 2 and double green for a 3/3 Rhino Beast. And when this creature becomes blocked, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. What the hell's a Gar? I mean, I know like there's a fish that's called a Gar, but that's not spelled that way. Is Gar like a real thing? Not that I'm seeing. Well, I need to spell it right. I need to spell it right to get it right. No, I'm not seeing it. Weird. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Snorting Gar. That's what it's called. 4 mana 3/3 with no trample. I don't love that. I mean, it does have this text of getting bigger when it gets blocked, so it's like a half Bushido. I don't really like that either. This is what's the frog that does it too? Or it's like a big toad, and it's like a 1/1, but it gets +3/+3 or something. It's the frog with the guy's arm hanging out of its mouth. You know what I'm talking about. This card's bad. This card's just pretty bad. It is a beast. That can matter in the decks. There's like the Wirewood Savage decks that draw a lot of cards with the beasts, are able to put them down. But this, even then, this one is a particularly bad beast for the Pauper format. I think we got to go for a 1.8. Really quite a bad card. Ghastly Demise we have done on the show before. I remember because this art is sick. Oh, this art is so sick. I'll read it real quick and give it like a light score, but we've covered it. Ghastly Demise is single black mana for an instant. Destroy target non-black creature if its toughness is less than or equal to the number of cards in your graveyard. So hey, Singe can stop this. I'm sure I said something like this is potentially good in a dredge deck that you are putting a lot of cards in your graveyard. I mean, I suppose this could also work really well in Dimir Terror too, as hey, there's a lot of cards in my graveyard in Dimir Terror. And so when you cast this, it's upping your instant sorcery count in your graveyard, but also because your graveyard is so big, you're probably able to kill lots of non-black creatures with this. But at that point, just play Snuff Out. Snuff Out, you can play for free, pay for life, but you can pay for free, and that's your non-black creature killer of choice. Otherwise, stick with Cast Down, stick with Go for the Throat if you're going up against lots of legendary creatures. We just have better cards than this. But again, 1 mana, instant speed, potentially kill a creature. That is really good value. And again, art rules. That's such good art. So we're skipping this one, but it is, I'd give it something like a 4. 1 mana remove spell. Pretty sweet. Kabuto Moth. I love Kabuto Moth. It's so bad. Kabuto Moth is 2 and a white for a 1/2 spirit. It's got flying. You can tap it to give target creature +1/+2 until end of turn. So you can give, it's a Kabuto. It's like a helmet. So it's like you're giving the shield, the helmet, the defense, that armor to whatever creature this is kind of attaching itself to. And I think that's cool flavor. I just like Kamigawa. I think that's really what this is. This is not a very good card. I do like the idea of being able to give a creature a holy strength whenever I need it to have one. But this thing is the thing I probably want to give it to the most because I want it to, because it's got flying. This wants to go in and attack. Interesting thing you can do with this though is that this is actually a really solid blocker because you can block, and then in response to the block, you can tap the creature and give the +1/+2 to itself. So this can be a 2/4 flyer as it's blocking, and that's pretty cool to take out. Glenhawks, I guess. That's probably mostly of what you're going to take out. Maybe some fairies. This thing can already take out fairies on its own. Kabuto Moth is not very good. 3 mana for this is just way too much. Even if the ability is kind of cool, it's not cool enough to ever really see play in Pauper. This is like a, how low do I go? I'm going to give it a 2.2, and that's probably me being a little generous. It probably just is a 2, but I'll give it the 2.2. Brood Birthing. I think we've done this one on the channel too, but I like this card, so if we did, we'll do it again. Brood Birthing is 1 and a red for a sorcery. If you control an Eldrazi spawn, you create 3 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens. They have sacrificed this token, add a colorless. Otherwise, you create 1 of those tokens. So you get 1 flatly, but if you already had 1 out there, then you get 3 of them. This card is really cool. You don't want to cast it naked, right? You don't want to cast it without having the Eldrazi spawn out there, because 2 mana for just an Eldrazi spawn isn't a very good deal. We have Malevolent Rumble that gets you that spawn and gets you 4 cards in your graveyard, and you get to get 1 of those permanents back into your hand. So it's just the spawn is almost like a little bonus that you get, and if you tried to cast this on a naked board, that's all you get, and that feels terrible. But if you are a deck that has a lot of Eldrazi spawn, and there are lots of ways to make Eldrazi spawn in Pauper, getting 3 of those guys for 2 mana, that's mana positive. That's awesome. That's awesome. This is really good in some like impact tremor style decks because you're putting 3 bodies on the table for 2 mana, and those bodies can help you cast other creatures that will then keep going. I love this card. I've built I didn't build it in paper yet, and I don't know if I ever will, but I did build like an Eldrazi Gruul. It's not exactly Gruul ramp, although it kind of is, just on the idea of using the Gruul on the Eldrazi spawns. But the idea here is that it was a Gruul Eldrazi impact tremors style deck. So you're putting out, Raphael Tough Turtle and impact tremors and the red giant from the red golem from Modern Horizons 3 as well. And so you're getting all those guys, and then you're triggering all those impact tremor style pings, and you can just keep playing these things. Writhing Chrysalis is just a really good card in the format. It goes perfectly here. It also puts 3 bodies on the table. This puts 3 bodies on the table. Malevolent Rumble puts a body on the table and gets you the right card that you want to be able to cast later. And because are all Eldrazi spawns, they're going to help you, cast and to cast and to cast. And I don't want to say the word cascade because that's a whole different thing, but it lets you cascade these different spells of casting multiple spells a turn. And it's really cool. This card is really good. I think it's a little bit slept on. You don't see it in Gruul Ramp very often, even though those Gruul Ramp, the traditional Gruul Ramp decks, also play Writhing Chrysalis, also play Malevolent Rumble. They're putting out Eldrazi spawns, just maybe not as much as a truly like full Eldrazi deck could do. But if you're wanting to play that deck, you're putting 4 Nest Invaders in it, you're putting 4 Eldrazi Repurposers in it, you're putting 4 Writhing Chrysalis in it. I think it's a really cool deck. And you can make those Writhing Chrysalis huge because you have so many spawns that you can sack at instant speed and just make those creatures giant. I think there's something to that deck, even if the more traditional Gruul Ramp is probably the better Gruul deck of those. I still really like that idea. I love this card. I think this is completely Pauper playable. I think this is even good in Pauper, and more people should probably try it. I'm going to give this a 6.4. And I am completely serious about that. Love this card. Goblin War Wagon is 4 mana. I also love this card, but it's not good. 4 mana for a 3/3 artifact creature, which is also a Juggernaut. This creature doesn't untap during your untap step. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2 mana if you do untap this creature. So it's a Juggernaut that isn't forced to attack each turn. That's interesting. I guess it wasn't originally a Juggernaut, and it's never been printed as a Juggernaut because it's only been printed in Mirrodin, but it got the Juggernaut text later. Very funny. We've seen artifact creatures do this in the past. There's plenty of artifact creatures rather, that seem like they attack for big damage but then don't untap, and then you have to either find a way to untap them or, in this case, pay to untap it. The problem with this is not a big creature. This is 4 mana for a 3/3, which already doesn't feel great, and then the idea that I now need to pay 2 mana each turn to untap this, because it doesn't even say pay 2 mana to untap this. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2. So I only get to untap this on the time when my cards would generally untap anyway. If this was just, hey, this doesn't untap during your untap step, but you can pay 2 at any time to untap it. Now, okay, it's kind of got pseudo vigilance. I can maybe surprise my opponent by untapping it when I need to. Maybe I can use it as some sort of combo-y engine of untapping and tapping. It could be a little bit more like another Mirrodin card, Batter Golem. Well, that's a 5th Dawn card, but Mirrodin block. This also doesn't untap during your untap step, but when an artifact comes into play, you may untap it. So there are combos that you can do with Battered Golem like that, and that's really cool. Goblin War Wagon has no such luck. And while I think the art is also incredibly cool, the card itself is pretty bad. This is not a very good Magic card, and I will give it a 1.4. Maybe even less, like maybe a 1.3. It's really bad. Tinderwall. Wow, Tinderwall is a pretty good card. Single green mana for a 0/3 plant wall with Defender, which means it can't attack. Makes sense because it's a wall. You can sacrifice this creature at instant speed, by the way, to add double red. And then you can pay a red and sacrifice this creature, and it deals 2 damage to target creature it's blocking. That last one doesn't matter as much. I suppose it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's fine that it has it, but you're probably not going to use that element very often. What this really is ramp. This is fast mana. This is, I'm paying 1 mana, putting this creature down, and then at instant speed, without having to tap it, or I can do this the turn it comes down. I can sacrifice this creature and make it into 2 red mana. Sure, it maybe color screws you. Maybe a color fixes you, though. That's also, so like, this is like a ritual at that point. Tinderwall's great. Man, it doesn't. It's seen some play, right? Like this has gone in wall decks and foggy kind of decks. I don't know how much play Tinderwall gets, but I mean, obviously it's a good card. It's a couple bucks here, up to $3. This Mystery Booster 2 version, I have one of these, and it's gorgeous. Look at it. It's got the Future Sight frame on it. Tinderwall. That Tinderwall is so good. Like, all these Tinderwalls are great. Like, they all look great. I like the flavor of it. You burn the tinder and it makes energy. So that's good too. We've gotten a lot of good flavor cards today. Man, what do you give it? What do you give Tinderwall? It's really good. We might not have the right deck for it in Pauper. Even though this is mana positive, I wouldn't put this into like Gruul Ramp, and we were just talking about Gruul Ramp, but I mean, you could put it in that Eldrazi deck that I talked about. It's not an Eldrazi, but you put down a creature and it goes mana positive, so you are just able to cast the next creature. You can cast the Impact Tremors off this. You can play this on turn 1, sacrifice it, and then play the Impact Tremors on turn 1, and on the rest of your turns, now you can just play a bunch of creatures and ping the opponent. Tinderwall's awesome. It really is good. Man, where do you put it? I'm in a tough spot because I don't actually see it played very much. So I don't feel like I can give it a very good score, but just knowing the power of the card on its own, I feel like it has to get a good score. I'm going to give this a 7. God, that seems so high, but I think I feel justified in it. It's a ritual. It's a green creature ritual, fast mana. Like, how could you not? I mean, you can't chain one into the next. Like, this isn't going into the Red Storm deck that plays that splashes a little bit of green to play, the Burning Tree Emissary, or the Beetle that makes red spells lower, or the Anarchomancer that makes instants and sorceries cheaper, or something like that. Or maybe it's just red and green spells. I can't remember. You're not putting this in that deck because you don't chain it as well, because you need to have kind of both colors in that at that point. Although you could, I mean, you play a Tinderwall, you sacrifice the Tinderwall, you play Manamorphose. Now you can make whatever colors you want. You're drawing more cards. You're casting more spells. Tinderwall's so cool. I'm gonna give Tinderwall. Yeah, I think I feel good with the 7. I got to give it a 7. Really good card. If you got a Tinderwall, you should play Tinderwall. You should find a deck to play Tinderwall in. Brood Rage Mycoid is 3 and a black for a 4/3 fungus. At the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn, create a 1/1 black fungus creature token with this token can't block. Descending, if you don't remember, means a permanent card. That's a very important part of that. But if a permanent card was put into your graveyard from anywhere, so you can mill it, you can discard it. It can be a creature that died. It can be an enchantment that died. It can be a land, whatever. As long as a permanent card, so not a token. And that is the real killer. Treasure token isn't going to do anything with this. The creature tokens that you make, the creature tokens that you make with this won't count to the descending on future turns either. But if you can get a card in your graveyard, which a lot of decks can, something like Dredge, very easy to get cards in your graveyard. Now this thing's making you little 1/1s that can't block, which that this card isn't good. It's interesting to talk about Descend and other things that we can do with Descend, and there are cards with Descend that are cool and even potentially Pauper playable. I don't think this is one of them. It's 4 mana for a 4/3. I don't feel great about that anyway. It's a creature factory, yes, but it's only potentially giving you 1/1 per each of your turns. And those 1/1s are very limited in that they can't block, which is one of the reasons I want a 1/1. Like, I want 1/1 creature tokens because they very easily chump block big things. If they can't block, okay, I'm swinging in for a little bit more damage. I suppose, you're also using them for sacrifice effects, and maybe that's giving you more cards if you're playing Fanatical Offering or something. But, yeah, it's interesting, but it's just not quite there. I think we'll go with a 2.4. Yeah, 2.4. Boomerang Bladefinger is a Marvel card. It's also a legendary creature. Anyway, 1 and a black for a 1/3 legendary creature human villain. When Boomerang attacks, he deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. So a little drain effect on a 1/3. I don't think this is anything all that special. It is cheap to come down. It can gain you a life each turn. A 1/3. I mean, a 1/3 is kind of made to block, though, right? You want to keep that in the back because it's able to block all sorts of stuff from your opponent. But if you're blocking with it, you're not getting the usefulness of it attacking. And you need to have it attack because you want to do the drain. The drain is the best part of the card, but the drain is also very conditional in that way. And I think the card is just kind of not built for it. And also, even if the drain is the best part of the card, it's not really conducive to many game plans. We don't have a whole lot of decks that would necessarily even want this. Like, maybe this goes better in some kind of life gain Johnny's Pridemate style deck, and we don't have Pridemate in the format. I guess we have like Pest Mascot, and you could make something like that kind of work. It's in the same colors, but that just feels really slow. And there's way better life gain things than having to have this thing attack each turn and ping your opponent a little bit. They might just let this 1/3 in because big deal, and then they'll swing in with something even bigger because now this guy isn't available to block. So I don't particularly like Boomerang that much. Well, don't take that out of context. Boomerang, the blue card, is awesome. Boomerang Bladefinger, I don't think is a very good card, and I will give it a 2.5. Destroy Evil. Let's get off this Marvel card and see what the good real card looks like. Destroy Evil is 1 and a white for an instant. Choose 1. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater, or destroy target enchantment. Destroy Evil is great. Just is. This is a good potential sideboard piece. I think you have lots of good options for. It doesn't even have to be a sideboard piece. This could go in your main board, but it probably goes in your sideboard, knowing, hey, I'd only want to bring this out when I'm either facing creatures with toughness 4 or greater, or an enchantment style deck. But even if you're just putting it in the sideboard, I think this is a really good sideboard piece, along with a lot of other kind of conditional white removal. And we see plenty of those, like Revoke Existence is an exile effect for artifacts or enchantments that potentially has more value as a sideboard piece than something like Destroy Evil does. But Destroy Evil, you kind of know the matchups where this would be a really good sideboard piece. This is going to be really good against Mono Blue Terror or even Dimir Terror, I suppose. Um, yes, you'd have to pay more the ward on the Terror, but this works great against the Cryptic Serpent. It would work great against a Gurmag Angler. This works really nicely against Tron decks, Monster Tron decks specifically, because you are able to take out all of those big creatures that Monster Tron is playing. It's obviously quite strong against Bogle's decks or even Mono White Heroic decks that are buffing their creatures, but also play a lot of enchantments. So those are good targets at that point too. Destroy Evil is just a solid card, solid sideboard piece. I think we have enough other sideboard pieces that you do have to make that decision on, and that's more of like a meta call for your LGS's meta, or for the Paupergeddon or whatever Pauper events you go to, what the meta is there of what's going to see play. But Destroy Evil should almost always be a consideration for a white deck sideboard. And for that, I'm going to give it a pretty good score. I'm going to give it like a 5.9. This is good removal. Really, really good removal. Great card. So I got to go back and look at this Marvel one again so I can go to the random search. But I don't know. It's fine. It's fine, I guess. Brain Spoil will be our bonus card of the day. It is 3 in double black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature that isn't enchanted. It can't be regenerated. And it also has Transmute for 1 in double black, which means you can pay that cost and discard this card to search your library for a card with the same mana value as this card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. And you can do that only as a sorcery. So you can pay the 3 mana, discard this, and go find another 5 mana card. That can be cool. I don't... Transmute is really good. It's better for lower mana value cards, though. It's better for, I would say, anything that is 3 mana or less in this format. There aren't a whole lot of 5 mana cards that I feel like I need to tutor for in the Pauper format. That's not to say that there aren't any options, but if I'm also probably in a black heavy deck if I'm playing a card like this that has all these black pips on it. So what 5 mana black card am I really tutoring for? Again, there are options, but I don't think any of them are compelling enough to make me want to put Brain Spoil in there. And that's just the tutor effect, which is probably better than the rest of the card. It's just the tutor. But the regular part of the card, what the actual thing of the card does, the destroying a creature that isn't enchanted, that is pretty easy to do. We've mentioned the decks that use a lot of enchantment auras, the Bogles, the Mono White Heroics, and if you're not playing against those, this kind of just kills anything, and that's pretty sweet. But 5 mana for a kill spell, that's not so sweet. That feels like a lot of mana. And if you want to kill, if you want an unconditional kill spell in black that costs less than this, you can just play the black pizza, anchovy and banana pizza that we looked at a few days ago, and that comes down and destroys a target creature. No conditions at all. I guess you could regenerate the creature with the pizza. You can't be regenerated with Brain Spoil. But it is a tutor and a removal spell on a single card. That is pretty good value, even if both of those modes are quite limited and narrow in their usage. I can't give it a great score, but I can't give it a bad score either. I think we can go with a 2.7, and I'll feel pretty good about that. That's the end of the week. We're done. Enjoy your weekend. I'll catch you later. Bye.